And I think you were kind of alluding to the fact because I think Tank said in his media scrum last week before the fight, he was like, yeah, Shakur and Keyshawn should fight each other. He spoke on you a little bit. We'll get to that in a second. But how do you feel when a fighter is like, well, they got to fight each other for the right to fight me? But if we're being honest, what did Lamont Roach do to get that fight? He's not on the same level as Shakur.
Or is it?
Whoever. I told Tank. Tank know what's up. You know what I mean? He know what he up against when he fights Shakur or Keyshawn. You know what I mean? He want to fight these guys that everybody in the world know they ain't gonna give him no fight. They not mentally there. You know what I mean? They might have a little skills here and there.
You ever notice how every time Gervonta "Tank" Davis gets asked about Shakur Stevenson, the energy changes instantly? Like suddenly everybody starts blinking too much, coughing into microphones, looking at the ceiling like the answer is hidden in the arena lights. Yeah, fans are saying something is off, and once you connect all the dots, this whole boxing storyline starts looking less like competition.
What have I ever hated on Tank about? There's nothing to hate on him about. When you compare the careers, it's like night and day, boy. You can't even tie my shoestrings, you know? So to call me a hater is crazy. You know, I never hated on him. You know, always supported him. You know, I always watched his fights. I never said he couldn't fight. You know, when you go back to things like a person of being a hater, Tank came at me first. I never said.
More like a giant Hollywood-style chess game with designer gloves and million-dollar egos. Because allegedly, behind all the interviews, all the smiling face-offs, all the respect to him comments, there's a completely different conversation happening behind closed doors.
Fighter. You know, Shakur's different. You know, people may call him boring. People may say he can't punch. But they said the same thing about Floyd. Because they defensive fighters.
Yeah.
Tank is not going to be able to hit Shakur like he hit everybody else. And he know that. He knows that. That's why he's like, he's boring. He's this, he's that. He's trying to diminish everything that Shakur have done so it's not marketable. But he can't do it.
Terence Crawford may have just cracked the entire thing wide open without even trying to. And trust me, this is where it gets messy. Crawford jumps into the conversation basically saying Tank already knows what happens if he gets in the ring with Shakur or Keyshawn Davis.
Every time Keyshawn hits somebody with a clean shot, it's like, boom.
Yeah, they stuck.
It's like, what the fuck?
Bomac said he got that you thing about him. That's what Bomac told me the other day. He was like, they just both mean. They both got this mean.
He mean, but like, you give him too much, you know what I mean, time to grow. It's gonna be hell. If anything, he better catch him now.
Yeah.
Because Keyshawn ain't doing nothing but getting better and better and better. You know, he's growing into it, you know, his own style, his own man strength, his own.
And suddenly the internet explodes because fans immediately started replaying old interviews, old clips, old reactions, trying to figure out if Tank has secretly been avoiding certain names this whole time. But wait, because just when everybody thought this was only about Shakur,
Any words of wisdom, just kind of how to handle this type of pressure? Keyshawn, you know, hometown fight.
Ain't no pressure. He already did this before. What's the pressure?
You know, obviously the weight thing. You know, I know people are gonna kind of criticize and just.
Hey, he said he outgrew the weight. You know what I mean? Nobody knows his body. It's time to move up.
Last question: have you ever kind of felt that way? Was there a fight that was you were borderline? Was it? Because I know you talked about it, like the Spence
35, 40, 47. That's why.
Keyshawn enters the chat like the final boss nobody prepared for. And according to online speculation, some people in boxing allegedly believe Keyshawn is becoming the real problem behind the scenes. Because unlike Shakur, who's calm and calculated, Keyshawn fights like somebody trying to collect overdue rent with interest. Every punch looks personal. Every knockout feels loud.
40, that should be the biggest name. I want Gervonta Davis to step in the ring and face somebody, dog, already, bro. For real.
He'll be back.
Like, oh, I know he coming back, dog. But I'm just saying, like, fight Shakur, bro. Fight Shakur. That's all I'm saying, bro. Fight any of these top guys out there, man. And that's it. Because you can say, oh, Shakur ain't fight nobody. Well, shit, if Shakur ain't fight nobody and Tank ain't fight nobody, why don't they fight each other? If that's how y'all want to put it, Fight each other, bro. That will probably be one of the biggest fights in boxing right now, bro. The biggest fight. Box office.
And now people are whispering that promoters may be trying to slow certain fights down before things get too dangerous financially. Yes, financially. Because here's the part nobody says out loud. What happens if the wrong superstar loses at the wrong time? Exactly. Suddenly all those pay-per-view dreams, sponsorships, celebrity entrances, and giant money fights start wobbling like a folding chair at a family cookout. And of course,
I truly believe
Andy Cruz.
that Andy Cruz, I truly believe that Keyshawn Davis is a true competitor. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's a great personality. There's no way, and he can say in his story, yeah, I lost 4-0 to Andy Cruz in the amateurs, but, you know, like, it was the like, he is a competitor.
Yeah.
He wants to put that right. And for me, that's the biggest fight out there for Keyshawn Davis, away from Tank, which he ain't going to fight right now, and Shakur, who's his best mate who ain't going to fight.
Yeah.
That's the biggest.
according to fans online, that might explain why everybody keeps talking around the fight instead of actually making the fight. Because think about it. Tank says Shakur and Keyshawn should fight each other first. But fans instantly fired back asking why everybody else needs a tournament just to earn a conversation while other fighters somehow skip the line entirely. OOP.
Names getting brought up, but I gotta ask you this. Instead of somebody saying, hey, Shakur, is he gonna be next? Do you think Shakur and Keyshawn should fight for the right to fight you? Do you think Shakur and Keyshawn should fight for the right to fight you?
I mean, they should. They ain't under the same. They ain't under the same coaches and none of that. They keep screaming their brother and shit out.
And this is where it gets worse because now Tim Bradley jumps in, sounding like your uncle who's tired of hearing excuses at Thanksgiving dinner. Basically saying, just fight already. And suddenly the pressure starts building from every direction. But wait. Because right when fans started leaning fully toward Team Shakur, another twist drops out of nowhere.
As an example, I'm gonna use Shakur as an example. About 2 years ago, everybody was saying he was a boring fighter and nobody wanted to fight him and he wasn't able to get a big fight. As he stayed focused and kept training and kept getting fights, he eventually fell into a big fight, which was Teofimo, and fought for the 20,000 fans. Now Shakur can damn near hand-pick big fights now. So I'm gonna use him as my example. All I gotta do is keep going out here stopping guys, stopping them, and somebody gonna be brave enough to be like, all right, it's time for me to give this guy a chance to see if he.
Brian Mendoza says Tank might actually be the toughest matchup for Shakur. Yeah, plot twist. According to some analysts, Tank's patience, timing, and trap-setting style could allegedly create problems Shakur hasn't seen before, meaning this entire ducking conversation may actually hide something even crazier. What if both fighters are secretly wary of each other? And now the internet...
Bigger fights at 147 though. Ryan, Devin.
Yeah, but he's not a 147 pounder. He's not. He ain't say, oh, let me go test that 140. No, he said, I'm gonna go to 140 without no tune-ups and I'm gonna face the best guy there. Right? And he faced Lopez and he demolished him like nothing, right? Yeah. So, like, now y'all want to force him to go up to 47 for what? That's his fourth weight class, dog.
That doesn't know who to blame anymore. 1 minute, Tank looks hesitant. The next minute, Shakur looks too careful. And suddenly the fans are acting like FBI agents, breaking down slow-motion clips frame by frame, trying to decode body language. But hold on, because we just got another fake breaking news level interruption. Reports suggest Keyshawn Davis may already know something the public doesn't. Why?
Who's willing to get in the ring with me, bro? I really had to pick De Los Santos because we was trying to go after other people that I ain't gonna name that was just overpricing themselves. Asking for $8 million, asking for $10 million. Like, damn, y'all want that much because y'all know I'm gonna whoop y'all ass that bad? And I'm talking about well-known names, you know what I'm saying? So De Los Santos was worthy enough to get in the ring with me, like legitly, you know what I'm saying? Whoever else.
Yeah, Tank's a little preoccupied at the moment. I feel like that one.
Although I think he is the guy that can beat at 135. I think he is the guy that could beat.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be the toughest matchup, and it would, just be interesting. Styles make fights, but I do think Shakur would have more trouble with Tank, and that's a fight I'm personally really hoping to see someday. So hopefully, Tank gets all these issues resolved, and things aren't the way that they're looking like they're turning.
Because every interview lately sounds less like a hungry prospect and more like somebody waiting for a phone call he knows is never coming. Did you catch that? He keeps saying, nobody wants to fight me, but he says it almost too casually, like somebody who already heard all the behind-the-scenes conversations.
mean, they know each other so well. You know, they've had so many rounds of sparring, so many years. They're like, you know, brothers. They're always together, you know, hanging out. They've been in the gym for years and years. So they know each other, which gives Keyshawn also an advantage, you know, over people that have trouble because they need more time to try to figure out Shakur. So Keyshawn could have, you know, that little advantage towards him, but then obviously Shakur has the same, he knows exactly what to do against Keyshawn. So it could be exciting. It could be, you know, a little drama of, you know, those close brothers.
And fans are now speculating that certain negotiations allegedly collapsed after outrageous money demands appeared out of nowhere. 8 million, 10 million. Numbers so dramatic they almost sound designed to make fights disappear politely instead of publicly. And if that...
Yeah, Gary Russell, I mean, in his last fight, he looked invincible. So in that fight with Ryo, so it could be a very exciting fight, you know, because Russell had tons of crazy speed like always, but he was putting on pressure, you know, the angles, he was just in the zone, and he looked invincible. So a fight like that, I think would be very exciting. And I just don't know if the pay would necessarily be there, but I do think it would be very exciting, especially as a boxing fan, to see those two styles clash and see if
that's true. Suddenly boxing starts looking less like sports and more like luxury level reality television with gloves. But don't think Crawford was done stirring the pot, because then he compares Shakur to Floyd Mayweather, and that sent social media into absolute chaos.
Pitbull, I think that's the biggest payday for him at 140.
Agreed. Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's going to be the biggest mainstream type of fight for him that he can get at the weight class, because everyone else, as he keeps going up in weight, they're going to be tougher fights just because of the size advantage that they'll have, and they're not necessarily, the pay won't be there with those names. But someone like Pitbull, I think that would translate big time to like more mainstream, more casual fans. People would be excited to see that, see if Pitbull's level of pressure can get to Shakur and make him crack under that.
Half the internet heard elite defensive genius, the other half heard boring, and now everybody's arguing again while the actual fights somehow still aren't signed. Coincidence? Fans are saying absolutely not. And here's the craziest part. The more people criticize Shakur, the more his profile grows.
Hey bro, I'm gonna be real with you, bro. Like, Shakur had a crazy narrative a year ago. He's the most boring fighter in boxing. He can't sell, all that type of stuff. Now everybody knows Shakur. He had one fight and now he done flipped the script. You know what I mean? I was there with him. I was on the phone calls with him during those times. I knew where he was going. You know what I mean? So I just put myself in the same box. Ain't nobody really.
It's literally becoming the villain origin story of modern boxing. 2 years ago, people mocked him nonstop. Now suddenly everybody wants to talk about him every single day. And according to online chatter, some insiders allegedly think the criticism actually helped him, because controversy keeps names alive longer than highlights do. Read that again.
I think he's gotten better at setting up punches, making people walk into him. He did it against Roland, he did it against Ryan. Do you agree with that?
Of course I agree with that, because he shows discipline. Discipline enough to have, he get enough shock when he punch, but he knows how to set the punch up before he does it. He's patient enough to set it up before he does it. He looks at it a few times to make sure he got it. When you know he got it, boom, he get it. That's a real chess player in the boxing ring. That's the most deadly kind of guy.
Today's boxing world, being talked about might matter more than being loved, which explains why every interview lately feels weirdly theatrical. Every quote sounds loaded. Every compliment sounds backhanded. Every respect to him somehow sounds like a threat wrapped in politeness. And speaking of threats, Roy Jones Jr. casually drops one of the coldest observations in this entire saga when he says Tank fights like a chess player. Not a brawler, not a reckless slugger, a chess player.
Those fights are major fights.
I think Shakur gets his respect if he fights Ryan Garcia.
He does, but like I said, I'd like to see him work on that, not getting off the job so much, because if you fight Ryan and you beat him in a boring way, people are not gonna get credit for it still.
Okay.
If you beat Ryan the same you beat the other guy, you're not gonna get real credit for it. Yeah. Tank stop Ryan.
Yes.
You understand me? So if you go out there and you beat him, but it's a boring fight, you're not gonna get no credit. That's gonna hurt you more than it's gonna help you. Because anybody that goes to distance.
Wait for that to build, Shakur?
I don't know. Like I said, when it comes down to me and him, he's the main the pay-per-view superstar right now. So it comes down to him making a phone call and you know, me answering it. Whenever he's ready, I'm ready. So I'm willing to fight him next year if it happens. My next fight could be against him.
Suddenly fans started revisiting old Tank knockouts and realizing how patient he actually is. The traps, the timing, the setups. And now the conversation flips again because people start wondering whether Tank's silence is fear or calculation. Huge difference, massive difference. Because what if Tank isn't avoiding danger? What if he's waiting for maximum leverage, maximum money, maximum attention? See how complicated this gets? Every answer creates 3 new questions. And this is where the conspiracy vibes really kick in because Eddie Hearn enters the conversation, sounding genuinely confused about why certain mega fights still aren't happening despite all the money available. Riyadh season offers giant venues, massive audiences.
I think that he will surprise everybody even on a higher level with Canelo because when I watched Canelo, I seen like a lot of mistakes his last fight that I know for a fact Terence would like capitalize off it. And another thing too that they don't realize is Terence can crack. Like Terence really could crack. It ain't, I don't care who you are, you ain't just gonna let him hit you. And he knows how to hit the target. So I don't know. I think that Bud
needs to be in those big fights to cement his legacy in the sport.
Do you think Tank will budge when it comes to His Excellency Turkey and Riyadh season?
Yeah, I don't know what the whole thing is about, you know. I'm not going, you know, like, it's not, it's not, you know, a case of, I don't know the resistance. Like, this is a brilliant thing to be a part of in Riyadh season. And, you know, I don't understand the whole, I'm not going over.
Allegedly opportunities everywhere. Yet somehow the biggest names still circle each other like they're starring in a season finale nobody wants to film first. And fans noticed something else too. Everybody keeps talking about legacy now. Legacy this, legacy that. Whenever athletes suddenly start speaking in legacy language, internet detectives immediately assume hidden pressure is brewing backstage. Because legacy is code for risk. Legacy is code for this loss changes everything. And maybe that's why this entire lightweight division feels so tense right now. Nobody wants to blink first.
Saturday, and then the conversations will begin to see who's next.
Just touching back on Shakur there, getting through Floyd Schofield, we know Zepeda is scheduled obviously for a rematch to Tevin Farmer. Ideally, does that open the door for a potential Gervonta Davis fight, do you think?
I think it's the best fight in American boxing, to be honest with you. But get through Schofield. We'd love to do Zepeda next, but it's a bit of a weird one, rematching Tevin Farmer. I don't think he's mad on the Shakur Stevenson fight, but, you know, we want to position Shakur in the biggest fights in the sport. He's a 3-division world champion. For me, he's a pound-for-pound star, and he...
Nobody wants to become the clip that lives on social media forever. One bad night can turn a superstar into a meme before the locker room shower even turns on. But then, boom, another twist lands out of nowhere when Shakur himself says the Tank fight depends on Tank making the call because Tank is the pay-per-view superstar. Sounds respectful, right? Maybe too respectful. Fans instantly started debating whether that was genuine humility or the smoothest pressure tactic ever invented. Because now if the fight doesn't happen, everybody naturally looks back at Tank. Smart move? Petty move? You decide. And honestly, the deeper you go into the story, the stranger everything becomes because every fighter sounds confident, but nobody sounds certain. Every promoter sounds optimistic, but no dates appear. Every interview creates hype, but no contracts magically materialize. It's like the entire sport is trapped inside a giant suspense trailer that never reaches the final scene. And now here comes the biggest twist of all. What if the real fight isn't Tank versus Shakur? What if the real fight is everybody trying to control the future face of boxing before the current era disappears completely? Then maybe the most shocking reveal isn't who's ducking who. Maybe the shocking reveal is that boxing's biggest stars may have accidentally discovered that the waiting is the real pay-per-view. So now I have to ask you, if the contracts finally landed on the table tomorrow with no excuses left, no negotiations left, no escape routes left, who do you think signs first and who suddenly goes silent?